T.B.Photo.
Well, hello again, and welcome back to another episode. Today's episode is going to be called something in the lines of "When life gives you lemons, you can always make lemonade." So it's a little bit of, if something doesn't really work out the way you planned from the beginning, you might be able to find that you could use said thing to something that you didn't think you really thought of. As they say, necessity is the mother of invention. In that case, ingenuity is the father. Excuse me. Anyway, I got this lens. I actually bought this internationally. It was from Asia. I bought it from Japan. It's one of my few Nikkor lenses for the D7200. But I thought I wanted something a little bit classy, something that is a bit vintage and so on. So I decided, after seeing a bit of YouTube reviews upon this subject and so on, I thought I wanted a 135mm lens, which becomes quite a bit more. You have to do the math yourself, but 135 times 1.5, excuse me, that becomes the new crop factor, at least on the Nikon D7200. But anyway, I bought this lens, and when you say Nikon, Nikkor, and vintage and everything about that, no, it's not the f2 defocus control. I wish it was, but unfortunately it is not. What it is, or rather, it's this little beauty right here. The 135 3.5 maximum aperture prime lens from Nikon's Nikkor line of lenses. And you eagle eye viewers out there might say, oh god, he has, or rather, he has bought a non-AI lens. And that's exactly what I also thought when I bought this, and I got it in the mail, was happy as can be, and I went to pick it up, and it turns out, oh no, I can't use this on the D7200 because then I will ruin it. And I can't use it on the what is this now? The D801 F801. Real fail there. But anyway, what could I do with this then? I didn't know about it at the time, but afterwards I know that you can get new aperture rings for these old lenses, so they become AI compatible. But this one is not. The only other reason, or rather the only other way I've been seeing people do, is that they have a metal workshop in their garage or shed or whatever the case might be, and they actually cut out a slit in the aperture ring of the lens in question, so they can home convert non-AI to AI. But I didn't feel like taking such a classic lens, and I know this has been around since donkey's years apparently. I didn't want to ruin it, so I wanted to keep it original, because I think these deserve to be kept original. But anyway, before we go any further, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about the specifications of this lens. It's a fairly old, it's one of Nikon's oldest designs. I think this one hunkers back to the 1950s, where they had a 135mm, which was f4. So this is one stop faster. But anyway, that lens that they made in the 1950s is apparently very similar to this one, that you can see the progression is very much the same all the way. But anyway, this lens, the Nikon 135mm f3.5 non-AI, it features a 7-blade aperture design, so you can get fairly decent, bokeh rings with it if you are into that. It has a minimum aperture of 32, so really good in that aspect, 32. And a maximum, as stated before, at 3.5. There are no zoom on this, it's a prime lens. It has a close focus distance at 4.5 feet or 1.3 meters or 130 centimeters, whatever you want to call it. It weighs almost half a kilo. It has some heft to it. It's about 400 grams, I would say, or 14 ounces for your empiricals out there. It has a fair bit of bokeh as stated and so on. As is this lens, it gives high image quality. It's all metal construction apart from some plastic or rubberized items on it, like the focus ring has some rubberized grip on it. Of course, plastic front and rear lens covers and so on. And I don't have it with me at the moment, but it also came with a lens hood. Subsequent versions of this particular lens actually had a built-in lens hood, but this one had a separate one. But anyway, I knew this is a good piece of photographic gear. It's a sharp, great piece of gear, and I thought, I'm not going to sell it. I might as well keep it, and I want to use it. So I had bought one thing from China. It was just, a spell moment, just an impulse buy, and it was just something I wanted to fool around with. And it was this little thing. Now you guys might wonder, what is this what is this contraption? Well, I have to loosen this little grub screw, and if I just push it out like that, too far, away, something like that. A micro bellow. These are bellows for micro photography. Many times if you own a lens that says macro on it, or macro, I think Canon and Nikon are actually using different synonyms for the same thing. The premise is that it means that it's a close-up lens, or rather, it's so close up that the ratio between what is captured and how it's projected on the negative or the image sensor nowadays with DSLRs and mirrorlesses, of course, it's going to be a 1-to-1. So if something is 1 centimeter square in reality, it will take up 1 square centimeter on the lens, or not lens, of course, the sensor. But anyway, what I found out was that, well, this one doesn't have that, aperture control and so on, and I can always put the D7200 on that it has a electronics-less, completely manual lens on it. So what I did was that I just took this very good piece of photographic gear and I just... There you go. So I might go to a little bit of a break now, and I'll show you some pictures of what I've been able to capture with this contraption. So yeah. Oh, okay, we're back. So, anyway, as you can see, this setup, it doesn't seem that much to the world, but, and also, the editing software I'm using might not do the pictures justice, so you have to have some I think I need some help with that, actually, how to I use Pinacell as an editing tool for my videos that go up on YouTube. But anyway, I'll do whatever I can to recreate the colors and the contrast that my pictures get when I put them on YouTube video. But anyway, as you can see, this setup, I would say, it's a fun little thing, and I would say that I probably can get a one-to-one reproduction with this type of setup. It's a really good lens to use. It's sharp. It's really good. The the minimum aperture, as stated, is 32. So I would say that most of my other lenses I've noticed goes to aperture. Aperture 22. Most of them are around that aperture 22, but this guy goes all the way to 32. Yeah, so I would say that that's an advantage for a macro or micro lens. So, and also this has what is now, it's a 52 millimeter threading on the end of the cap here, so I think it's 52 millimeter. I was correct. Let's see it. So I'm storing it like that. But anyway, with the 52 millimeter thread mount on the front of the lens, I can actually put my ring flash on it. So with a little bit of a contraption, I can actually I have a external flash for my camera, and I can also use a ring flash with this with these bellows and the the lens. I've shown, if you've seen my flash video, which I'm not I might have to redo it in a future date, but anyway, it takes some pretty interesting and good for what it is, for being a little bit of a quote-unquote redneck hackery. I think it's pretty good. So it goes a bit with the theme of that necessity, mother invention, and I would say that ingenuity is the father of all invention. So that's about it, and I hope you enjoy this video. I'm planning to make some others in the future, and stay tuned to the next video, and I'll see you then. Peace out. Well, of course, I have a little bit more. Well, what is the pros on this lens as is without the bellows system? Well, it's a high image quality. It is AI convertible, so you can convert it to AI if you want to. There are kits that you can buy for it, but that is always an option. I might do that down the line. See where we are now. I think I need to clean the elements on this lens as well. They're a little bit dusty and so on. Yeah, cons, non-AI, and when you use it with the bellows, they are a little bit finicky on how to get a really sharp, clear focus on it. It's a bit of a learning curve, and if you're up for the challenge, I would say that this is quite a interesting little contraption to use. So anyway, that's all for me for now, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care.